Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the One Last Cast podcast. My name is Jonathan, and as always, we have Merriel Solesky here. Say hi, Merriel.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Wow, you're so
Well,
bossy.
what?
You're so bossy. No, I'm just
So
kidding.
bossy. Yeah,
I'm just
that
kidding.
does. You know how much work I do behind the scenes for this podcast, Merriel.
So just keep quiet and listen to me, right? You know what's good for you, bud. Just keep quiet.
Well, today's episode, I actually think it's gonna be a very fun one. And we're gonna dive into kind of the next big craze with technology and fishing. I don't think ChatGPT was designed for fishing in mind, but we're gonna make it so and see how it could help you become a better fisherman if it can at all. Um, but before we do that, let's give some shout outs to some of our group sponsors. We have DSKA, Dirty South Kayak Anglers. If you're looking for a Facebook group to join and learn about kayak fishing and fishing around Texas waters, go ahead and join up through there. There's some good information on there, good folks on there as well. Also, we have Knocking Tail Lures. Been using them for a while, even before they became sponsors, and they are by far my favorite soft plastics to use. They have a really nice swim on the fall action, and one of the big features is that they have the rattle and the tail. That noise is just, especially whenever you're fishing for in murky, darker waters, they are killer. And they are also killer for flounder, which I found the last few years. And also foray printing, they do a lot of our custom gear that we have, such as this custom buff. If you're looking for something like that, just contact foray printing. Aaron will take care of you as well. And I know I mentioned it last time, but we definitely need to restock on our towels because I think we're out of them. So, anyways, um, Meryl, sounds like you have a dog in the background somewhere.
Yes, yeah. I thought I'd try to put him in the area, but he's like one of the kids, so
Okay,
he has his own behavior. So
yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
yeah. I also want to see Kyle, if you can give your group a shout out there, post it up on our feed. I was trying to get him on the show. Kyle, reaching out to him has been kind of tough. I guess he doesn't check his messages, but yeah, appreciate you join us one day, Kyle. Would appreciate you, bud.
Yeah,
Uh,
Kyle, reach out to us and we'll make it happen. And yeah, put your group in the chat as well. That way that we can give a shout out to it, and that way people can go hang out there as well. Um, so I guess we're gonna kind of start this just a little bit of a set the stage here for ChatGPT. So if you've been living under a rock, or if you're just not into technology, ChatGPT is created. It's basically an AI platform, a text AI platform that is kind of like, imagine, I've been describing as basically Google on steroids. Basically, whenever you ask Google or Alexa, it comes up with these responses. However, um, these responses are a lot more personable. It sounds more like you're talking to a person than kind of you know the Alexa voice or the Google voice coming through. Um, and yeah, it's been a kind of a revelation coming out, and it uses information that's readily available. So it's not like it's anything a secret that's out there. It doesn't pull from like unknown sources that like somebody said, unless it's on the internet. I think that it has to be published somewhere for it to actually pull that information from.
I
And of
heard it
course,
was I heard it was pulling directly from our podcast.
yeah, it should be
Yeah.
pulling directly from the podcast. And to kind of circle back to Kyle's group, Kayak Fishing Texas, that's another group if you guys are looking to join and talk kayak fishing and get into it. That's another group that's very very helpful. And yeah, go ahead and go join that as well. Yeah, I'm sure it's pulling from our podcast. I'm sure it's pulling from everywhere.
I'm just
Um,
kidding. I'm
you
just
know,
teasing.
as leaders in our field, we're definitely very trustworthy and yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, do the
but
opposite of that. Yeah.
yeah, so basically I've been having fun with it for like the last week, just asking it random questions about fishing. And I think today what we want to do, and for those of you who are actually on with us live, which if you want to join us live, we're on every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Just join our Facebook group, facebook.com/One Last Cast Podcast. We're also on YouTube as well. You can join us live every other Wednesday. So for those of you who are live right now listening to us, if you have a question for Chat GPT, just put it in the chat, and we'll try to draw it and ask it live later on the show. And just think about what you want to ask. Anything at all. But fishing related, obviously. I don't want you to ask like some pickup lines or something like that. For those of you who couldn't find dates for Valentine's Day, I don't know. Because it will give it to you. It will give you some pickup lines as well. But yeah, just keep it to fishing related questions, and but let's just dive into it just a little bit.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
so let me scroll to the top. We've already asked it some questions, and these are the answers. And all right. So obviously, as we're kayak fishing based, our first question that we asked it, what is the best fishing kayak? Um, and we have our screen up right here. So this is a response from ChatGPT on what is the best fishing kayak. Choosing the best fishing kayak to depend on a variety of factors such as your budget, the type of water you plan to fish in, the type of fish you want to catch, and your personal preferences. Here are a few popular options to consider. The Hobie Mirage Pro Angler 14. This high-end kayak is designed specifically for fishing. It features a pedal-powered drive system, multiple rod holders, and ample storage space. Number 2 is Old Town Sportsman Autopilot 120. This kayak features an integrated Minn Kota trolling motor, GPS-enabled spot lock technology, and a range of other high-end features that make it a great option for serious anglers. The Perception Pescador Pro 12. This is a versatile kayak that is great for both novice and experienced anglers. It features a comfortable seat, ample storage space, and a range of other features that make it a great value for the price. The Bonafide RS 117. This kayak is designed for stability and is ideal fishing for both calm and rough waters. It features a comfortable seat, ample storage space, and a range of other features that make it a great value for the price. Ultimately, the best fishing kayak for you will depend on your individual needs and preferences. It's a good idea to read reviews, talk to other anglers, and test out different kayaks before making a final decision. Let's kind of unpack that. Merrill, what
Yeah.
are
I
your
was gonna say I
thoughts?
wanted to talk about that. Like
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it, so I think it's like generalizing, and when it does that, it's like it's also accounting for bass fishermen as well.
yeah,
Because I know, like us on the coast here in Galveston saltwater, we have our own ideas of the kayaks that we use that we sell a lot of in these kayak stores, I guess. But I guess maybe just it's real broad, maybe, and it includes a lot of there's like 10 times more bass fishermen than there is saltwater fishermen in kayak fishing. And that's my guess, right? I don't know the
yeah.
answer to that. But I mean,
Yeah,
I
but
do see a lot of
I asked the
these.
question. I asked the question, "What is the best fishing kayak?" I didn't really specifically specify saltwater and stuff like that. So, yeah, I can definitely see where maybe later down we'll kind of narrow it down and see for saltwater what it brings up.
Right. If it's
Um,
a different, like if it's different, or it might even be the same. I don't
it
know.
might be the same. It might be the same. But what are your one thing I did notice for here, and I especially like the very ending here, um, is that ultimately the best fishing kayak for you will depend on individual needs and preferences. It's a good idea to read reviews, talk to other anglers, and test out different kayaks before making a final decision. I think that's actually a very good piece of advice, and that's like whenever you see online, I'm looking at I'm looking at the pro angler, I'm looking at the autopilot, whatever. What's the best kayak for me? It's very difficult for us keyboard warriors here who don't know who that person is to be like, yeah, that's the best kayak for you because there's a lot of things that go into it. Even if you are, a lot of people like to look at like height and weight,
Right.
height and weight as like a kind of determining factor if that kayak is good for you. Um, but if somebody is the same height, same weight, two people, they have different preferences. Like sometimes maybe their shoulder isn't as good and they can't reach out behind them. So maybe
Right.
they need more of that stability so that they can, store stuff behind and reach it. Maybe, even though they're the same height and weight, that they have a lot more balance. So they can go with maybe like, let's say a Tarpon 160,
Right.
yeah, which wouldn't be a good for somebody who doesn't have that good sense of stability. Um, so yeah, I think that's a very good piece of information right there. What are your thoughts on the it bringing up like any of these kayaks right here, the Hobie Pro Angler 14, the Autopilot, the Pescador Pro, and the Bonafide?
Man, those are all really good kayaks. Like, yeah, those are pretty good kayaks. We sell a lot of those during the last show. We don't have the Perception Pescador for a fishing tackle unlimited, but the other ones we sold, and but the Perception is a good kayak.
Mhm.
I heard a lot of good things about it. So, man, I think it's a pretty. I think it's pretty accurate now that I'm thinking about it, and I think it does mention budget too, right? Doesn't it mention budget? I think Paul brought
It
up that
just
point.
it just says high end, and
Yeah,
it does say like the Perception Pescador, which out of all of these is probably the cheapest one out of all of them.
right,
It has a range of features to make it a great value for the price.
right,
Um, and don't quote me on this, but like like the Perception Pescador, I believe out of the top of my head, probably has changed in recent years, but back whenever I remember it, it's probably around 7.99 starting. Um, so the Perception Pescador, funny thing about that, they had now have the pro version, but originally it was just a Perception Pescador, and that was actually an old Wilderness Systems tarpon mold. And back
Oh
in the day, it
wow.
was like $300-400, and it was like, to me, that was like a really really good starter kayak, because for the money, for $300-400, you're getting an old tarpon 120, tarpon 140 kayak
Yeah, I
for
mean,
like $400.
I am a little upset that I don't see the Outback, right? For a good mid-range person, probably by my height,
Yeah.
about my weight. I was like, because I mean, I remember back in 04, 05, I was like, man, I can't wait to get in a Hobie Outback. I finally got one in one, but it was years later.
Yeah.
But I just remember them being a really good kayak, and I've always wanted to get in one. And I guide out of Hobie Outbacks, so you book a trip with me, 9 out of 10 times you're going to be at a Hobie Outback, depending on your body style and your body size. I might put you on the 360, but you can put on the Outback. You're going on the Outback.
Yeah, and with the Hobie Outback, are you talking about like the newer one, or the
Oh
old style
yes,
one?
yeah. So you're in a 2019 or 2020 version. Yep.
Awesome. So I'll just continue down with some of the questions. And then, like I said, if you're in the chat, if you have a question for Chat GPT, just put it in there, and we'll see if we can put it in later. Um, this is a softball question. I just wanted to see what was going to answer. When is the best time to catch flounder in Texas? Um, the best time to catch flounder in Texas typically ranges from October to December, which is generally correct, with the peak season being in November, which is correct. During this time, flounder begin their annual migration from the bays and backwaters of the Gulf of Mexico. As they move towards the Gulf, they can be found in deeper channel cuts and passes. However, it's important to note that the timing of the flounder run can vary from year to year depending on a variety of factors such as weather patterns and water temperature. In addition, flounder can also be caught during other times of the year, particularly in the bays and backwaters where they spend most of their time. Overall, if you're planning to target flounder in Texas, it's a good idea to do some research on the current conditions and seek advice of local experts to increase your chances of success. But yeah, that's not a bad answer either.
Yeah, man. The answers are pretty spot on. I mean, spring's a pretty good time. We do pretty good in springtime.
Yeah.
When they come back in, I'm guessing. But yeah, spring times is one of those hidden gems for flounder that not a lot of people fish, and there's like a ton of flounder coming in,
Yeah.
especially if you know where they're going.
Yep. Um, yeah. I again. So back to kind of the first question, you're kind of saying that this is very generalized. I think this is a little bit. It's giving very good information. This is for all like this is my thoughts from just two questions in right now. It's giving very good information, but it's very. I think during our our pre-show where we were just talking to each other, it's very politically correct answers. It's not
Right.
like, you know,
Seawolf Park, right? It's not
yeah.
telling us
I
you need
mean,
to be.
part of it too is like obviously like the question I asked is very generalized to begin with. Like maybe if we ask it a very specific question, um, if we ask it a very specific question, maybe it'll give us a specific answer. But uh, but yeah, so far these answers aren't bad. Uh,
This would
uh,
be good for like somebody to like trying to get better. Maybe somebody converting from fresh to salt or salt to fresh to ask general questions, and it gives them a general idea, and they already got like a little bit of a fishing background. They can kind of like help them, you know?
Yeah, I was about to say that just for a beginner fisherman, I think this is a very good tool because one of the things, and part of it too is a little bit when I'm thinking about it, it's kind of a little bit lazy, but you know, use technology however you want to, however you want to use it. Whenever you ask these questions, generally when you type into Google, you have to go through the effort and go through the pages and read all the information. This one's actually kind of condensing some of that information for you. You're not going to get everything, but if you just want like the Cliff Notes version, this is actually pretty good. So,
Yeah.
uh, again, another softball question: what's the difference between a pedal kayak and a traditional kayak? The main difference between a pedal kayak and a traditional kayak is the means of propulsion. In a traditional kayak, the paddler uses paddle to remove the kayak through the water. In a pedal kayak, the paddler uses pedal power drive system to propel the kayak forward. Um, Pedal kayaks typically have propeller or flippers that are turned by pedals to generate forward motion. This allows the paddler to move through the water with their feet, leaving their hands free to cast a fishing line, take photos, or perform other tasks. Pedal kayaks are often favored by anglers because they provide a stable platform for fishing and allow for greater mobility and control. Pedal kayaks may also have different designs and features compared to traditional kayaks. For example, pedal kayaks may have larger, wider frames to accommodate the pedal drive system and provide additional stability. Also, specialized fishing features such as rod holders, fish finders, and built-in storage compartments for gear. Uh, while traditional kayaks and pedal kayaks can both be used for recreation and fishing, the choice between the two depends on personal preference and intended use. Again, the politically correct answer.
Right.
Um, Traditional kayaks are often less expensive and easier to transport and store, while pedal kayaks offer the advantages of hands-free propulsion and specialized fishing features. So, again, it's very the politically correct answer.
Yeah. I wonder, yeah, I wonder if it just like gathers like the average information that's said a lot, like credible sources, and it just condense. Like, I wonder how that works,
Yeah.
like the
So
programming behind it.
yeah. So I don't know exactly how this works specifically. I didn't dive that deep into the Chat GPT and how OpenAI does their thing. If it's anything like Google, and this is the part that I know. So Google, what happens with Google is that you have basically it has kind of internet crawlers where basically it sends out feelers for information, um, and I don't know, Meryl, do you cook
Sometimes
sometimes?
I burned some ribeyes for Valentine's Day. I didn't mean
Okay,
to
nice,
though.
very nice. Do you whenever you cook stuff, do you go to like online and look for recipe and follow that recipe?
No, 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 I don't.
Okay.
Is that a good idea?
No, no, no.
Maybe
I'm
I'll.
just I'm just asking for what you do for looking at recipes. But you've seen online recipes before, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you know how all online recipes start. It's like on this cold winter day, I remember my grandma making me this really nice soup or something like that, and it filled
No,
the
I
whole
don't
house.
read.
Yeah, you
I
don't
don't
read it,
read.
right? You don't
No.
read it. Yeah, so the reason why uh, online recipes have that is so that Google can crawl that and it adds quote unquote value to the website.
Oh, wow.
And it makes it more quote unquote trustworthy. Um, and and that's how stuff gets whenever you ask questions like, hey Google, what is the like what is a good recipe for boiled eggs or something like that, and Google will actually give you a step one, you need to put it in the water, and then step two, crack, peel whatever. um it takes that information, but there's all the information before that. It's supposed to add value to the website, provide content for people reading it, and that's why that's there.
Gotcha.
So the same thing I think is what's happening here is it's taking information from websites and just kind of aggregating it, like averaging it, like you said, aggregating it, checking it across. This seems right because it's being said across multiple things and whatever. It's probably a lot more. It's definitely more nuanced than that, but but yeah. Um, oh yeah, this is the one that you asked me earlier. The best place to catch tournament redfish in Galveston.
Yes, that's a question that we all need to know.
All right, be prepared to start spot dropping. You know,
Yeah.
get your maps out, get ready to for some coordinates. Um,
Yes.
and here we go. Galveston, Texas is well known for its redfish fishing, and there are a number of spots where you can catch tournament-worthy redfish. It's a very good start right there.
Tournament
Uh,
worthy.
Tournament-worthy redfish. Here are a few popular locations to consider. Okay, I'm immediately turned off because this is popular. So, West Bay. West Bay is a popular location for redfish fishing, particularly in the fall and winter months when the fish are actively feeding. This area is known for its shallow flats and oyster reefs, which provide ideal habitat for redfish. East Bay. East Bay is another popular spot for fishing, redfish fishing, with plenty of shallow flats, marshes, and bayous that provide excellent habitat for these fish. The area around the Anahuac Wildlife Refuge is particularly productive.
Oh, they
Okay,
just blew your spot out like that,
just
John.
blew one of my spots out. Dang it. Trinity Bay. Oh shoot. You know, Trinity Bay is known for its large schools of redfish. Oh, large schools of redfish, which can offer deeper channels and around underwater structures. This area is particularly productive in the spring and summer months. The good old Galveston jetties.
Mhm.
The Galveston Jetties are a man-made rock formation that provides excellent habitat for a variety of saltwater species, including redfish. This area is particularly productive in the fall and winter months when the redfish move out of the bays and into the Gulf of Mexico. I don't agree with that, but okay.
Number 4 is really popular. I seen like when they have that was it castaway shootout or castaway thing? You'll see boaters
Oh,
like
like
fighting.
the Castaway Cup or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, you'll see
Yeah,
boaters like fighting for position with live mullet up along the jetties. And I
yeah,
know some tournaments they don't allow you to fish the jetties for the redfish to run up and down those rocks.
yeah.
But yeah, there's some really nice ones along the jetties if you know how to fish for them and you know certain locations.
Actually, one of the um, and I don't know if you can find it online, but one of the episodes of Flats Class. Um, there's a TV show, and I forgot what network it's on, but Flats Class. They're based out of Florida. Um, they did an episode here in Galveston, and they went on a weekday and fished the Galveston jetties, um, and they were using crankbaits
Oh,
off the jetties, and they were catching like everything, like trout, redfish, sheephead. But they're just like just going. They went on a weekday so that they could actually work the jetty, you know, parallel to the jetty and
mm,
not like fight. You know, on the weekend it's like a parking lot in there. You can't do
yeah,
that. But
yeah.
on the weekday there's like nobody there, and they were just like just tossing crankbaits, and they're just catching all these redfish and stuff like that. So let me continue. Overall, the best place to catch tournament redfish in Galveston will depend on a variety of factors, including the time of year, the weather and water conditions, and the specific fishing techniques and equipment that you plan to use. It's a good idea to do some research and talk to local experts to determine the best location for your needs. Again, the very politically correct kind of answer. Um, yeah, see, if I'm looking at this, like, again, from the beginner perspective, this is actually very good information. Like, I'm just like, I don't know where to fish, and it just gave you kind of 4 areas to kind of hone in
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, because
So,
East Bay doesn't have a lot of marshes, and that really narrows it down. Like
what are you
these
talking about?
shallow flats and
It's all
marshes.
marsh. East Bay is like
Well,
all marsh.
the south shoreline. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
I fished it so much for me, it doesn't seem like it's that much of an area.
yeah.
Um,
Actually,
as-
I went to East Bay a couple weeks ago with my buddy, um, and it's completely different now. It's been the first time I fished in that area for like in like years, and it's completely different now. Um, Maybe we can talk about that in another episode, but you know.
yeah, yeah. We'll talk. Yeah, but I mean, there's still redfish. There's a lot, just maybe not a lot of trout action as you're used to, but there's
Yeah.
still redfish roam in those brackish areas. So I don't know if a lot of people know our East Bay used to have rollover pass,
Rip.
and that go ahead. What?
I was saying rip, RIP, rollover bay, rollover pass.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so it feeds salt water to the backside of East Bay, and we also have the water that came down through the jetties, so it kept the salinity level. I guess kept it pretty average, I guess, compared to our base system?
It just kept it
Or
salty. It just
right.
it just kept it salty, and it had that inflow, and it had that flowing in and out, with the tides, and it kept refreshing that bay. It's like
It, it was like the
and
number one spot, like to catch a big trout, not even trying. Like
yeah,
that area was so good. I've had a lot of good memories at Rollover Pass. I've seen a lot of these older guides there too. I met a lot of people there at Rollover Pass, and you meet a lot of people there because you're fishing elbow to elbow, and you just meet people there, and we're all catching fish or you'd catch fish as they come through and through the pass, or some actually kind of stayed there, but the for some reason it got closed in, and it affected our base system.
yeah.
I think it was a negative impact, but some would argue that. Um, Go ahead.
I was gonna say from a fishing perspective, it's definitely a negative impact, but but I don't really. For me, it's like I have other places to fish. It's whatever the politics surrounding it, it is what it is. You know.
Right.
So,
I'll
but
talk about it if you
anyways,
don't want to. No, I'm just kidding. I'll bash them. No.
you're bashing. Okay, yeah. So keep going on. And again, those of you who are on listening to us, if you want to ask a question, we'll type it in later. Just put it in the chat, and we'll copy it and put it in, and that way you can hear what the answer is. And for those of you who are listening on podcast land, just if you want to join us live, we are live every other Wednesday on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, you can find us at facebook.com/one last cast podcast. Hit that like button and follow us, and that way that you'll see whenever we go live, get that notification going. And same thing for YouTube. Just search One Last Cast podcast, and you can find us there as well.
Are we also
Uh,
on Spotify, Jonathan?
yeah. So we're on all the other podcasting platforms: Apple, Spotify, blah blah blah, Amazon.
Okay. All right. Because I think I told somebody we're on Spotify, and I'd be like, oh man, they're looking and we're not there.
And
Oh well, sorry. But
dang, man, you need to get with the program. We're on
yeah,
Spotify.
yeah. So Stacy asked a question too, so just make sure you get that,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Stacy.
yeah. We'll
You got it.
we'll get to the questions in a little.
Okay.
Well, actually, you know what? Let's just go with it. Let's just
Yeah. All right.
ask.
Let's
Yeah.
just do whatever.
Let's just. What length? So let's see what it says.
And
What like?
I didn't even ask. Like, where do you find this? Like this thing you're asking questions
Oh,
to?
just search just search ChatGPT, and it'll bring you to it. So Stacy is asking what length rod. Um,
Let's just put a 12-foot kayak, so we're more specific.
is best to throw from a 12-foot kayak.
Sorry,
I think that's a very specific question, and I don't know
I
if
had
he's
to
gonna know the
modify that
answer.
question, Stacy. Forgive me. I'm just make sure that
So let's see what it says. I don't know if it's
it's
actually
gonna
gonna
say
know.
error. Error.
All right, so here's the live answer. When choosing a fishing rod for a 12-foot kayak, it's important to consider a few key factors, such as the type of fishing you'll be doing, the size and weight of the lures you'll be using, and your own personal preferences. That being said, a good general rule of thumb is to choose a rod between 7 and 8 foot in length.
Jesus,
A
8 foot.
shorter rod can be easier to maneuver in a kayak, especially in tight spaces or when casting in areas that overhang trees or obstacles. However, a longer rod can help you make a longer cast and may be better suited for certain types of fishing, such as trolling or targeting larger fish, which that is true.
Yes.
Ultimately, the best length rod for a 12-foot kayak will depend on your specific needs and preferences. If possible, try out a few different rods. Another politically correct answer at the very end. So,
Like the lawyer's answer at the end, like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, so I do use a 7-footer for my casting, like when I'm trying to cast far. And I use this like a 7.9 when I'm offshore and I'm sight casting for tarpon. Like that one, I use a longer rod, and I cast a certain way with that big rod. I got asked a question like, "How do you cast with that big rod?" Like I got like a certain position I get in,
mhm.
so I can cast a 7 whatever rod. But yeah,
Yeah, I strictly use 6, 9, and 7. I think
okay.
so that's the two lengths that I use. I'm surprised it didn't actually mention anything about like clearing the bow of the kayak, because that's the most. That's the most important thing, is that you need a rod long enough to clear the bow of the kayak, especially if you're targeting like redfish and stuff like
Well,
that.
not if you're on YouTube, right? So if you're
Yeah.
on YouTube, what you do is you loosen the drag, and then you, after 30 minutes and the fish gets tired, then you bring him close to the kayak. So you ain't got to worry about reaching over the front of your kayak.
You mean setting the drag so loose that a 20-inch redfish goes under your kayak and makes it look like a really big fish, and you find it in like
Yes.
10 minutes?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
there you
yeah,
go.
yeah. There you
No.
go. That's how you do it. That to ham it up for the camera there.
Yeah. Like, and I used to watch him. I was like, man, that looks like a big one. It looks huge. And then they net it, and I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, it's like a little
It's a
tadpole.
16-inch trout.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if this was legal, guys. Let's put it on the board. Like, dude, you fought it for like 15 minutes. What do you mean it's not legal?
That's the power of movie magic, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, the excitement, I guess.
I do
Uh,
like whenever some people like to ham it up for the camera, and they have like a spinning reel, and they loosen their drag so much you just hear the reel streaming, but it's like not
or
that
they
big of fish.
or when they're tightening the drag and they only do like one click, like that's gonna do something big for your drag, like click, and then they'll reel a little bit and they'll keep it in and they'll go like click, like dude, like crank that sucker, bring them in. Anyways, that's
Yeah, but
enough making fun.
that's the it's not a bad answer. I actually, out of all of these so far, that's actually kind of it's missing some information that I wish it would give, about clearing the bow of the kayak. Um, let's see.
Did you have the big speckled trout one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I know a
Looking
lot of people
for it.
like big.
Okay,
Oh,
here
you're
you
good.
go. Where is a good place to catch big trophy speckled trout in Texas? This is
Look at
a
that guy getting
this
all
one
the
I'm
gravy today.
uh, if ChatGPT is as good as it's going to say it is, this is where we're going to just spill all the secrets right here. Well, where all the
Yeah.
big trophy trout are going to hide.
Yes.
Texas is known for its great speckled trout fishing, and there are several locations in the state where you can catch trophy-sized trout. Here are a few popular spots to consider. This is the same kind of format as the redfish one, the trophy redfish, tournament redfish, I should say. Baffin Bay. Baffin Bay is one of the best places in Texas to catch trophy speckled trout. This area is known for its clear water and abundant grass flats, which provide excellent habitat for these fish. The best time to fish for speckled trout in Baffin Bay is typically from late spring through early fall. Upper Laguna Madre. The Upper Laguna Madre is another popular spot for speckled trout fishing, with plenty of shallow flats, deep channels that provide ideal habitat for these fish. The best time to fish for speckled trout in this area is typically from late spring to early fall. The Lower Laguna Madre. The Lower Laguna Madre is a world renowned fishing destination. It is known for its large trophy sized speckled trout. This area is particularly productive in the winter months when water temperature drops and the fish move into deeper channels and holes. Galveston Bay. The Galveston Bay complex is a popular spot for speckled trout fishing, particularly in the fall and winter months. The area around Galveston jetties is particularly productive with plenty of underwater structure that provides ideal habitat for these fish. And then it gives you that politically correct answer at the very end. So,
There you go. We got
what
SLP over here. I'm guessing San Luis Pass.
San Luis Pass? Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is a good spot. We've caught some big trout there, Jonathan,
No,
me and
there's no
you.
big trout there. That's
Oh,
ChatGPT said
okay.
there's no big trout there.
Yeah, I guess if it's not on this, then it's sorry, Julian, but you're wrong.
So what are your thoughts? Baffin Bay, Upper Laguna Madre?
I agree with. I've caught big trout in every single one of those spots, so it's not lying. So I do think though, like the number one is when somebody wants to catch a big trout, they'll book a guide and go down and fish Baffin for sure. Um, but I
But
mean,
what about the Lower Laguna Madre? It says it's world renowned.
oh, I would agree.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, these are good answers. But these areas are like just so broad, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Like there's a lot of area to fish in Galveston Bay. There's a lot of area to fish in Baffin. But me fishing Baffin, I noticed that there's not a lot in Baffin, right? You just got like shorelines, there's some rocks, some guts, some like there's no passes or anything like that there. So any kind of structure in Baffin is a pretty good spot, or any kind of change in depth is a good spot. I've from the many times that I fished there, those are the spots that are really being targeted when you go with people, is these change in water depths and or structures or rock piles that that are underwater. um Galveston, I know a lot of people, they fish the jetties too with croakers certain times of the year, for big trout. Yeah, it's a lot of good. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't fished Baffin, the Laguna Madre, or both Laguna Madres. I haven't fished any of those, so I don't know. Um, I agree with the assessment that Baffin. Whenever you hear big fish, a big trout, you go to Baffin.
Yeah,
And that's just for me, like online reading and listening to people. But yeah, it's not a. Again, it's for somebody who's learning about fishing. This isn't a bad answer. It gives you just something to go off of. Um, and maybe we can later on. Maybe we'll ask some more specific, like very specific questions.
like send us a
Um,
pin drop.
yeah, send us a pin drop. Yeah,
Or
give
the
us the
most.
coordinates of the best place to catch a speckled trout.
Yes.
Actually, let's ask that.
In
Give
Galveston?
me, yeah. Give me the coordinates, or I cannot spell, of the best place to catch speckled
Trout.
trout in Galveston.
You might want to fix, yeah.
Yeah. I can't type and spell right now.
Oh, you're doing a lot better than me. I would have been still typing chicken pecking.
Oh, as an AI language model, I don't have the ability to determine the exact coordinates of the best place to catch speckled trout in Galveston, as fishing spots can be subjective and constantly changing. However, some popular areas of speckled trout in Galveston include the jetties, West Bay, and East Bay.
See that? That's like our whole Galveston Bay. Just yeah, just fish, Galveston or East or West Bay.
ChatGPT basically told us to go fish in the water.
Yes. That is pretty much sums it up. Fish in the water. Gosh. Well, I bet you like there's a fisherman behind this, like typing all this stuff.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, I'm not telling you.
Yeah. You pot lickers. But oh well. Okay, so what else? What other questions did we ask? I know we asked another question, but the
This
lures.
one, yeah. So this one right here, I asked it right before we got into the show. What are the best times to work a corky lure? Because I know that's a very common question, especially now during the winter that we get that gets asked. How to work a corky lure? When's the best time to work it? And I read this before, and it was actually very good. So corky lures are a popular choice for targeting speckled trout and other saltwater game fish in the Gulf of Mexico and other coastal waters. The best time to work a corky lure will depend on a variety of factors, including time of year, water temperature and clarity, and the specific fishing conditions in your area. Again, that's a very kind of politically correct answer right there. That being said, there are a few general tips to keep in mind when fishing with a corky lure. Water temperature. Corky lures tend to be more effective in cooler water temperatures, particularly in the fall and winter months. In warmer months, fish may be more active and willing to chase faster moving lures, so it's important to adjust your presentation accordingly. That's a pretty good answer, even though you know you and I both know that, and we say this a lot that we throw corkies year round. But
Yes.
water clarity, corky lures are typically the most effective in a clear or slightly stained water, as their subtle natural movements can be easily detected by fish in these conditions. In murkier water, a louder, more visible lure may be more effective. I can agree with that.
Yeah, because I mean, typically I'm throwing truce when it's muddy,
Yeah,
you know, water. If it's which is most of the time in Galveston,
yeah,
and when the water's a little bit clear, I'm throwing the mullet color,
yeah.
which it doesn't even look like a mullet, right? It's like
No,
black.
yeah.
Anyways,
I'm throwing tequila sunrise and like pink. That's like all I'm throwing.
yeah,
So
pink's definitely. always have one of those.
Yep. So time of day. Many anglers find that the corky lure is the most effective during low light conditions, such as dawn or dusk. During these times, fish may be more active and willing to strike a slower moving lure. I mean, that's not to say that you can't catch it in like the middle of the day,
Right.
though. But presentation when fishing with a corky lure, it's important to experiment with different retrievable techniques to find what works best in your area. Some anglers prefer a slow, steady retrieve with occasional pauses, while others find that a more erratic or jerky retrieve is more effective. Okay. So,
I've seen them work both ways. Like I've
yeah.
seen people just pop the crap out of that
Yeah, that's
corky.
me. That's me. I pop the crap out of it.
Yeah, they don't. I kind of do it the more slower,
Yeah.
like a slow injured one. But I mean that's not true because sometimes I'll reel it in fast and then they hit it while I'm reeling in fast. That's when I start changing my cadence.
Yeah.
Just got to find out what works best for them that day because it could be fast one and it could be slow than other,
Yep.
or just depending on the area you're fishing too.
Yeah. It also actually I'll even say it kind of also depends on the kind of area you're fishing in terms of like structure, because like in some areas where you're fishing like a couple foot over a like there's a foot and a half over a reef, you can't really work it slow because you're going to get caught on it. So,
Yeah.
but
You got to know how to dance on that reef. That's what I
yeah,
say. You got to know how to do the Macarena.
Macarena right above that reef.
Right above that reef. Yeah.
Yep.
That's actually one of my favorite ways to catch big trout is dancing over a reef. You know what we didn't ask? Color. So does color matter? Right? That's like one of the biggest questions. I wonder if it would give us.
I'm asking specifically for speckled trout, but
Okay. That's
does
fine.
color lures matter when catching speckled trout? Let's see what it says about that. Yes.
There you
the,
go, guys.
the color lures can make a big difference when catching speckled trout. Speckled trout are known for being selective feeders and can be sensitive to certain colors, especially in clear water or when fishing pressure is high. In general, natural colors such as white, silver, and brown can be effective for imitating bayfish and other natural prey. However, depending on specific conditions and preferences of the fish, other colors such as chartreuse, pink, and orange can also be effective. It's important to experiment with different color patterns to see what works best in the specific fishing conditions and environments you're in. Additionally, factors such as time of day, water clarity, and amount of sunlight can all impact the effectiveness of different lure colors. As a result, it's always a good idea to have a variety of lure colors on hand and to be prepared to switch things up if the fish aren't biting.
That has happened to me. I would, but Bobby told me that colors doesn't matter. You just throw anything out there and they'll bite it.
So I'm actually a big believer of like color not mattering, mainly because
Oh, look at that!
yeah.
You and GPT are gonna have a sit down.
But the main reason, okay, I do want to kind of clarify that I do think color matters, but I think it's just more important to find feeding fish. Because if you find feeding fish, you could probably throw a lot of stuff at it and they'll eat, they'll hit it.
But
Um,
but sometimes you don't have the luxury of finding the feeding fish. You're up against some of the fish are there, but they're being stubborn, right? So you're
yeah,
trying to get a
and
reaction strike. But I mean, like it reminds me that I'll never forget, like when I first realized that how important color was. It was me and God bless my buddy. He passed away. He was an old time guide, and we were throwing topwaters in the surf right by 61st Pier, and we were throwing skitter walks, and he was throwing an orange skitter walk, and I was throwing different color skitter walks, and then I changed to she dog, and he throws me this orange skitter walk, and he tosses it to me. He's like, "They'll bite on this," and I looked at him, I was like, "Man, I don't know. I'm gonna just try it, right?" So it's like kind of like that orange truce looking. I tie that on, and I swear, first cast, boom, and they just started hitting it, and I'm probably standing maybe I just a little bit outside of casting distance from him is when and when he weighed me and then threw me the lure, I caught my limit like in real fast with that one color. But I was throwing the pink skitter walk with silver. I was throwing one other color that I had in the skitter walk, and then I was throwing the she dog, and then I threw the one knocker. And for some reason, when I threw that orange one, I felt like the color of that lure mattered. And I've been in situations where I threw like different colors and I put on a pink, and then it mattered. And then I'm on. So like my experience is sometimes color does matter. So I would
Yeah,
put sometimes,
yeah,
like
and
if you're
I've
amongst
been
feeding fish, yeah, you can
I've
get
been in
away.
situations where color matters, and it, but in actually a very similar situation as you, a few of us are fishing the surf, and my buddies they were throwing, um, the what's the bigger she dog?
Big not she dog, the
I can't remember the name of that lure.
yeah.
Not the she dog,
Anyways,
the bigger one, you know.
yeah.
Um, and they didn't
The
have any
he
extra.
dog. No, I'm just
It's not
kidding.
the it's not the
No,
he
I'm just
dog.
teasing. I'm teasing. That was a joke. That was a joke. The he.
um, yeah, they were throwing those out there, and they were killing it. And all I had was freaking one knocker spooks, big spooks, and spook juniors, and of course my plastics with me. And like they were just there, and they were catching really nice trout, like 20 plus inches. My buddy earlier today, he caught and released like an 8 pounder. Um, and it was like I was late, and I it sucks that I was late, but anyways, when I got there, they were still catching fish. It was great for them. For me, they wouldn't touch anything that I was throwing. Um, and it just sucks because like you said, we knew the fish were there. They were getting blow ups, not me. Like they weren't touching my one knocker. So I decided I'm just gonna keep moving down the beach. I waited probably about 100, 150 yards away from them. Got on him with the one knocker. Um, and I caught equally as good fish. And for me, that was just. I'm sure that there have been times whenever like the fish were there and I'm just not catching it. But for me, my mentality is if I'm not catching fish, I'm going to continue moving on
Right.
and find those feeding fish that will eat what I have to offer. Um,
Mhm.
and there are certain times a year, like during the winter, whenever I have them really dialed in, like the trout really dialed into on a specific area, I know they're there. That I will go there and I will specifically cycle through lures and colors to get them, but I have to know that they're there. So anyway, that's my piece on it. Um,
Yeah, that's a good point, man. You just changing your location. Like obviously, those fish that are in that area just don't want what you're throwing,
yeah.
and you just go find the one that does. That's a good point. Yeah.
What other specific questions that we can ask?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure somebody asked another question.
So one of the cool features about this Chat GPT is that you can actually you can change the voice a little bit. So I asked it, can you talk like a pirate and tell me when the best time to catch flounder in Galveston? Um, and so I'm gonna attempt my pirate voice here.
Go
It's
for it.
written like a pirate. So we asked it, can you talk like a pirate and tell me when the best time to catch flounder in Galveston? Arr, you be looking for the best time to catch and flounder in the waters off Galveston, maybe. Well, if you be asking me, the best time to flounder fishing would be in the fall, when waters start to cool off and flounder
I'm
start making
sorry.
their way back toward the Gulf of Mexico. Look from around the channels and passes where they like to gather in search of bait fish. And you remember, you'll have better luck catching flounder at night when they'll be more active and likely be feeding. So batten down the hatches, grab your tackle, and set sail for some flounder fishing in the waters off Galveston.
That was actually pretty damn good. I'm sorry I laughed, but it was pretty damn good.
That's my pirate voice right there.
Oh, I mean, My overall take is that it's a very useful tool, and I'm glad we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
So this is like another tool in your bag to have. I mean, I felt like it was useful. I didn't. I don't think there was one where it kind of steered anybody wrong.
Yeah. And whenever you think about it, so whenever I'm thinking about it with this kind of tool, I know back in the day, and the description of this episode that I use is like fishing and technology has always been kind of has a weird relationship. Because I remember reading whenever fish finders came out, or like fishing graphs, they called it, because back then it wasn't electronic. They used like paper graphs that it would scroll through and tell you the depth, and eventually it would actually even tell you like the fish readings and stuff like that. Um, some people actually had problems with that, saying that it was like cheating. um,
Then the paper
and
got wet. No, I'm just kidding.
uh,
Like, oh, my graph's ruined. My paper
yeah,
got
yeah,
wet.
it's more of like just like people don't like change, and people like things the way that they are. Whenever Gulp came out, remember I know there was a big hubbub about Gulp. That's being cheating. It's not like it's kind of bioengineered to get fish to eat and all that stuff. Um, and I'm sure there's other technologies that came out in terms of fishing that are quote unquote controversial, but eventually it kind of just got integrated into like what is normal.
Right.
Um, Something like this right here, I think it'll be controversial in other ways, but this isn't going to replace being on the water. Yet the way that this AI thing works, it's never going to be able to tell you this is the best place to fish. It doesn't have the data capabilities to do that. I think the best it could probably do is if it was integrated into say like Facebook or even the internet like it is now, um, and you asked it specifically to look for like geotags whenever people took pictures of like their fish and where they took them at. That's
Wow.
probably the best that you could probably do. Um,
That's like that Batman stuff, you know?
um,
Yeah,
but
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think that's like it's not going to replace being on the water and understanding what the conditions are. Um, Actually, one of the things is like yeah, actually here, this is the question I wanted to show you where it's kind of like it's a little bit misleading. So I'm asking it if the winds are blowing 30 miles per hour out of the north, what is a good protective area to fish in Galveston?
Kayak. In a kayak.
I
Nah,
just
maybe not a kayak. Yeah.
just in general, because this to me this is very telling, as kind of limitations that this program is going to have. Um, So the question is, if the winds are blowing 30 miles per hour out of the north, what is a good protective area to fish in Galveston? So the answer is giving us, if winds are blowing 30 miles an hour out of the north, it can be difficult and potentially dangerous to fish open water in Galveston, which is true. In these conditions, it's important to seek out protected areas that can provide shelter from the wind and waves. One option to fish in a bayou or canal that is sheltered from the wind. Areas like Moses Lake or canals around off its bayou can offer protection from the wind and provide good opportunities to catch a variety of fish, including spectrum and redfish. Another option could be to fish in the lee of an island. Okay. So okay, so this is actually a very different answer that I got before, because this is actually a very good answer now. So another option could be fished in the lee of an island or shoreline. For example, the east shoreline of Galveston Island can offer some protection from north winds, especially around the protected waters of East Bay. Ultimately, the best protected area to fish in Galveston will depend on specific conditions and the preferences of the angler. It's always a good idea to check the most up-to-date weather reports and seek out advice of local experts. Again, politically correct answer. So actually, actually gave very good advice.
Yeah. I knew somebody that wanted to go fishing 30 miles an hour winds the other day, and I had to tell him I wasn't that mad at him.
Well, yeah, because you didn't want to go with me, I ended up not going. I was ready.
Yeah,
I
that
was
was just too
ready.
windy. Yeah, I was like, man, I'm just not that mad at him. We'll go fishing another day. But now that I
Okay,
think about it, we should have went fishing.
yeah, it's okay. We'll
Yeah.
find another time to go. Another option could be to fish on the lee of an island or shoreline, so having the wind to your back. So that's actually very good information right there. East shoreline of Galveston Bay can offer some protection from north winds, especially around the protected waters of East Bay. So that's again, um, actually areas like Moses Lake and the canals around Offutt's Bayou is a pretty good answer right there too.
When it used to be salty, we used to go fish Frozen Point on those northeast winds.
Oh yeah,
We'd go fish the Frozen Point, and that was a good spot. But I mean, now it's nothing.
yeah, and especially that's a pretty long drive too.
I fish all the way in Corpus and Speed now, so
Yeah, I don't like driving, so that's a no.
it's.
But let me let me find. I think I asked it earlier. Um, but anyways, yeah, I think overall this it's been a very good tool. I think it does have its limitations. But yeah, any more thoughts about it?
No, man, I thought it was pretty good. I think it's a useful tool.
All right. So, anyways, if you guys are looking to kind of utilize this, just go online and search up ChatGPT. Um, you can ask it a bunch of stuff, um, and of course, I would preface anything when you're using AI technology like this. I would definitely do some research on it and read up on some of the kind of dangers and pitfalls of using artificial intelligence. There are ways to misuse this, and that's that's some of the kind of the worries that people have about this. And of course, like you can read up about it and make your own conclusions about it. But that is something that I have found that we could potentially do with something like this. Um, so yeah, go to
Yeah,
ChatGPT.
yeah,
Go ahead.
you bring up a question. Like so I mean the way things are going now, right? Like so
Mhm.
everybody's in the information of the now. And that's kind of like the whole Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. Our podcast is like the information now. So this is kind of like the trend of like people wanting information at their fingertips and they got questions, they're not sure. That's just kind of the way it's trendy now. You can go as far as even the live scopes that we have on our fish finders now that people know exactly where the fish is. It's like you can see it, it's right there.
Mhm.
And I think utilizing those different tools we have is changing the fishing industry
Yeah. Um,
dramatically.
I would even in some situations I would actually say it's making. I mean, I hate. I'm trying to best find to figure out the best way to say this because it's going to make me seem like I'm a millennial, um, and I don't want to sound like a boomer. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Um, but you know, the overall kind of conversation, not conversation, but overall idea that previous generations have is like, we have it easy. And that's like kind of if you keep looking down further the line, that's every single one of our previous generation thought that of the new generation. They have it easy. Um, and I'm kind of on the same boat in terms of fishing. We're looking at this. It's with all the information that people have now, all the technology, the live scope, Facebook, Google, Chat GBT in some cases. Um, it makes it very easy for fishermen to just get all the information they could ever want right there. And I don't know if it makes them a good fisherman or not because you can get all this information and you go out on your trip and then you limit out on fish. And but like obviously they put in some work to get the information, but I think it's tough because whenever the
That we
conditions.
went through a hard time? Is that what makes it tough? Is that we all went through
Yeah,
we went
and
all through the
I
crying and blood, sweat, and tears behind it, and now these guys are getting it with the snap of a finger. I'm not
yeah,
mad at them. I feel like that's just the way things are progressing. You know, either you go with the. I even got a motor on my kayak now. I mean, that's just I want to get to these spots a little bit faster. So I mean, it's you could argue that it's part of the way the fishing trend is going. It's going faster. I remember I didn't even know about the TKF forum. People were like, oh yeah, just go to the forum and you find a lot of useful information. And I didn't even know about. I heard even a guy said, hey man, your fish pictures are on Too Cool. I was like, what's Too Cool? Like I didn't even know anything about that. I'm out there making mistakes, bird nestings, fishing the wrong rod and reel, thick line, the leader line's too thin, lost fish, or it's too thick and can't feel nothing. And yeah, I definitely made a lot of mistakes, but I think it's better that the next generation is learning a lot more. Sorry, I also have a cat too, and she's my pets are all over. They're going crazy now. I don't know why.
yeah, and I yeah. So no, and I don't mind that people are getting the information that's readily available. I just want to warn them that don't depend on it too much. Because I think again, I don't think anything can ever trump um being on the water
Experience, right?
experience. Yeah. Because, you have all this information um that's available, and like you said, you can go out with information and limit out your first few trips, but then whenever everything changes, how do you adapt to it? And I
Right.
think having that experience that we've been fishing for a while, not to say that I'm a great fisherman or anything, because I'm definitely not. But
I think you are. That's my opinion.
oh, thanks. But just having whatever experience that I have, and I'm in a situation where, like I said, whenever it was 30 miles an hour wind, and I kind of wanted to go out there, I had a game plan on us catching fish,
Right.
and then of course we just decided not to go. but
Yeah,
but
because it
like
was like, yeah, and that was my fault. I was like,
no, no,
man.
no, no, and like to be honest, my wife is like, "Why are you gonna go out there win?" um, but like in a situation like that where a lot of fishermen are like, "Ah, I'm not gonna go out," like especially in a kayak,
Right,
But me, I'm like, I've been in a situation before. We were actually in that situation, um, and we fished in this area, um, and we've done reasonably well, or I have done reasonably well. So I have the experience to
right,
back up that and make that game plan.
right.
So
Yeah, yeah. We did. I think was it a tournament? We had big win that day, and we did pretty
yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah, we just couldn't find a redfish. We got what we needed for trout. We just couldn't find a redfish.
yeah. We'd have had one even mid slot. We'd have took it, but
Yeah,
oh well. It's another
yeah,
story. It's another
yeah.
story.
And and also, do you know the funny thing was that I fished that area the week prior.
Mm-hmm.
It was just fire. Like where we started out in that morning, I sat there literally throwing a corky and just killed them. Like for the trout, it was literally like
You probably
tw-
caught them all. That's what it was.
well, I let them all go, 22
Uh,
to 24-inch trout, and it was one of the best corky bites I've ever had.
yeah, I remember you
And I
sending me the pictures too.
Yeah, I
There's
was just
some
sending
nice
you
ones.
pictures, and I'm like, we got this, and we just couldn't find the redfish, so
No, we just needed one dang redfish.
just needed one dang redfish.
Mhm.
Uh, all right,
But it was
guys.
fun fishing. It was fun fishing with I missed the professor. Wouldn't
Yeah.
mind him coming back down. We get to fish with him again.
Yep. All right, guys. I think we kind of gone over our time for this episode, but again, thank you for joining us on One Last Cast podcast. We've been talking about Chat GPT today. If you want to go play with Chat GPT, just go to Google and search it up. You get to create an account, um, and um, And just one of the kind of things you have to watch out for is that they have been having server issues because so many people are using it. So just kind of sometimes you have to wait in line to use it. But ask it random questions. It can do a lot of things. So have fun with it. Um, Oh yeah, Stacy has wanted to give us a shout out before we ended our show today. Heroes on the Water in Galveston Bay will be holding a kayak event on February 25th. So there's still time for veterans and volunteers to sign up. If you're interested in doing that, go ahead and search up Heroes on the Water, the Galveston chapter, and you can find information regarding that. Thanks for the shout out, Stacy. But before we sign off for today, Merrill, you want to give any last fishing advice before we sign off?
Yeah, just go out and have fun, and hopefully you guys catch big trout. This tis the season.
Just to
And
see.
also don't forget Saltwater Survival Series. They got the Redfish tournament coming up in March, so keep an eye out for that.
Yep. Go ahead and search up Saltwater Survival Series if you're interested in that. A very good tournament series here in Galveston. And yeah. So, anyways, if you guys are interested in joining us live, we are live every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can find us at facebook.com/one last gas podcast, or you can find us on YouTube. So search One Last Gas Podcast on there. Um, Before we leave, we'll just give a shout out to some of our sponsors, Dirty South Kayak Anglers. Go ahead and search that up on Facebook if you're looking for a good Facebook group to find about kayak fishing. Knocking Tail Lures are my favorite lure, soft plastics. They have the rattles in the tail. I have a whole pack of one of my favorite colors right here, the
Oh,
chartreuse and white.
nice. And
And
white flexing, Jesus, that's a lot.
yeah. And 4A Printing, they make some of our custom gear. Again, I need to get a hold of Aaron to get our towels restocked. But anyways, guys, thanks for joining us, and see y'all again next time.
All right, take care, guys.